Hi everyone, I'm Ruth Brown from Heavy Reading, part of Omdia. Today I'm here with Bruce Kelley, CTO and SVP at NetScout. Welcome, Bruce. Thanks for joining me. Brilliant to have you here.
Happy Friday and glad to be here.
Great. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. So today we're going to get straight into exploring network visibility in detail. I'm particularly interested to hear the progress today, a very complex world. Also, I'd like to hear your thoughts and NetScout's thoughts really about how AI and automation can be leveraged and how it really is going to underpin the 5G network technologies and services. So an obvious point, I think, to start with in this conversation is really to address some of the fundamental changes. So 5G has introduced a paradigm shift in terms of network technology, services, and it's created a lot of challenges for visibility. Can you describe the progress in terms of removing these barriers for data monitoring?
Sure. Yeah, the paradigm shift, as we all know, is digital transformation. So if you look at the difference between a 4G network or 3G network and a 5G network, digital transformation is really about cloud migration. The move to cloud, containerization is one. Two, edge computing, right? Because they want to deliver low latency and or high throughput to enterprises. So it's not about people on cell phones, it's about businesses and monetizing that. And it affects all verticals, right? It's the connected world, it's the Internet of Things. So whether it's automobiles, manufacturing, healthcare, gaming, you name it, that's what 5G is all about. And then within that, slicing. Can I give a private network to each of these with SLA guarantees? And so in this paradigm shift, it's created what I call barriers. And the barriers are, number one, the traffic used to flow in and out of boxes north-south on a physical network. Well, I mentioned digital transformation. We moved to the cloud. The traffic moved into the cloud east-west. And so the tools that were doing security or observability went blind because they only know how to look north-south. And the second thing is, in this environment, as they're building out 5G, they want it to be a secure environment. So it's encrypted. So when network function X is talking to network function Y in a 5G core, there's IPsec running. It's encrypted. And that's critical because you're talking about enterprises, not just humans watching Netflix, right? And so what NetScout has done is taken a leadership role in the last 2 to 3 years, partnering with the CSPs and all the equipment manufacturers, the Nokias, the Mavenirs, the Ericssons, and some new players, and so on, to create what's called a virtual tap. And that virtual tap allows east-west visibility in an encrypted world, right? And so that was step one, was just get visibility back, right? So that we can see what's happening as the paradigm shift has occurred. And so observability, bottom line, is now possible, right?
So you've just spoken about the connected world. We've also got the Internet of Things. You've also described how we start getting visibility back, which is, the fundamental goal. But how do you see observability and security now evolving to kind of get through this complex environment?
So I think the first point is the goal is still the same, right? It's an awesome customer experience with all these new services. So from a business point of view, that's important. The change that's going on, though, because it's the enterprise now, if a human was driving in a car and he dropped a call, he'd call and complain. In a connected world with billions of things, machines aren't going to call and complain. So you're going to need a way to still assure and secure, right? And so things are getting more complex. So AI/ML in automation is an absolute must, right? Just for the sheer scale of the Internet of Things. And when you look at the complexity, and you look into each of these areas, even things in the security area, people are getting smarter. The attacks are getting more and more complex, right? And so you're going to need new techniques at scale, which is automation and AI/ML, to keep up, to secure and assure these environments.
So we've spoken about AI and automation really being quite critical technologies as we move into this new 5G connected world. What can you recommend as the recipe and approach that operators should take really to allow their observability and security to really flourish in this new world?
So it's basically, when dealing with automation or AI/ML, it's all about the data. You'll hear a term in the AI/ML world called hallucinations, and it's basically getting the wrong answer. You ask it a question, and it gives you the wrong answer. It hallucinates. And I would call this garbage in, garbage out, right? So the first step that you need to do when you're moving into this new world is it's all about the quality of the data. And at NetScout, we believe the network lens is critical, right? It's when I talked about earlier, these components that communicate each other in a secure way, it's with packets. And what you want to understand is the relationship between these components end to end, right? And I'll use an analogy. I can be healthy, my spouse can be healthy, but the relationship not. That's the same in a network. A network function like an AMF could be healthy, the SMF could be healthy, but the relationship, the communication over the network is not. So that ends up in a poor experience. And so the packets, which is the source of what NetScout's doing, we look at packets which are very rich, layer 2 through 7. We see all the network information that's flowing, the applications that are flowing on top. And this packet information is then processed to what we call scalable deep packet inspection. And the goal is to be feeding these AI/ML engines with metadata, not packets, metadata derived from packets. And metadata would be things like, what was the response time? How many failures are there? What's the health of AMF talking to SMF, and so on, and looking at all the components end to end. And so step one, quality of the data, so it's not garbage in, garbage out. And then that allows all this generative AI, AI/ML technologies to not hallucinate, right? To deliver quality results and really understand what's happening with their customer experience.
So we mentioned, the fundamental changes in 5G, cloud, east-west networking, also about how we try and maintain this healthy communication throughout the end-to-end network. Can you explain the differences now, really, in terms of the architectures for automation and the approaches we need moving from 4G to 5G, really to ensure that we've got that super strong customer experience that operators can, give to their customers?
Yep. So as mentioned earlier, the main difference is the move to cloud, right? So everything's cloud native, which means containerization. So all the equipment manufacturers had to go off and rewrite all the 5G network functions containerized to run within a cloud. And when you look at the environment, the big paradigm shift, the way that these networks are being built is what I would call the AI stack, right? And think of like the ISO 7-layer model or the IP 4-layer model, right? The AI stack is a layered model. And if you start at the bottom, layer 1, that's really the semiconductors. You've heard all the rave in the industry with GPUs and NVIDIA and AMD and Intel and all the players that would make semiconductors building servers that can work at scale with AI/ML technologies, generative AI technologies. And then on top of that, the second layer would be virtualization, the move to cloud, and that could be public cloud, AWS, Google, Microsoft, Oracle, pick your favorite public cloud, or on-prem, right? It could be Kubernetes, OpenShift, it could be VMware. So everything's moved to software built on top of this custom hardware. And then at layer 3, that's where generative AI sits. So it's sitting on top of the software, and that's where OpenAI comes in, Meta, Anthropic. This is what you want to leverage when you're looking at Internet of Things and connected world. You're going to need to do that at scale. In this stack, layers 1, 2, 3 are the foundation to do that. Now, really, all the rave, this isn't all the rave, it's what's being built on top of it on this stack, layer 4. And at layer 4, this is where there's agents. You'll hear the term agents, and they're solving very specific business problems or applications on top of this stack. So it might be a manufacturing set of agents or a healthcare set of agents. It could be virtual assistants, order bots for restaurants. It will be used in all verticals. So there's millions of agents being written to run on top of this 5G infrastructure with this AI stack that I just described. And the key here is when you bring this now to observability and security, you need to leverage that same set of technologies when you're monitoring and securing the environment. So picture a tool that was programmatically in 4G looking at the health and user experience of the environment. You will now use generative AI where it's autonomous. You just feed it the information and it's intelligent at scale to be able to put together, is it a good customer experience or not? Am I being targeted for an attack, right? And you got to do that at scale before the damage is done. And so when you're looking at the solutions and what's happening there's also a paradigm shift that's happening in the way that you do observability or performance monitoring, and as well as security. So the applications are using the stack, but so is the watcher, right? The observability and the security solution. And those two together will allow you to achieve the goals that you want with these businesses when you're running mission critical business apps. And the last thing I would kind of mention is these worlds are colliding, right? So you had kind of silos for observability, right? Set of tool sets for that, security. And really, at the end of the day, you want these groups communicating, right? They're related. And so you'll hear a term called resiliency. And so as you look at the tools and solutions coming for these environments, you really want tools that are cross-pollinating observability with security.
Fantastic. So we're almost out of time now. So Bruce, it's been incredible talking to you today. I feel I've learned a lot. Thanks for sort of describing the automation stack and the changes to it. It's also been really good to hear about NetScout's progress, through this whole space and what you're doing. So thank you very much, and I wish you a terrific weekend.
Thank you, Ruth. Have a good day.
Thank you.